I'd like to introduce our guest speaker now. Irma Perone is the president CEO of Perone Group. They provide executive consulting and business resources. Irma is a graduate of the Industrial Relations Studies program at Cornell University. Irma has 35 years' experience in the service industry, her last 15 years before forming Perone Group as a senior vice president responsible for a successful team of 1,200 employees. 3 of the numerous testimonials on the Perone Group website include increasing customer retention from 52% to 93%. That's some good statistics, Irma. Reducing employee turnover by 27%, and twice ranked in the world-famous Gallup's organization world-class category for workplace quality. Please welcome Irma Perone.
How do I do this? I have to move around. I can't stay still.
Do you have something you can
No.
switch to? All right, well, you have to hold it.
I have to hold things. I have a pocket. Does it look like a strong hip bone? This is my grandson, who I got to visit when his little brother was born this summer. And one day when the adults were cooking, they don't let me play in that sandbox for a very good reason. I asked him if he would take me for a walk because Grandpa was sleeping, the baby was sleeping, the adults were cooking. So we went for a walk and found this cute little candy shop, Amy's Candy Store. It's a candy store. So we go in it, of course, and he wanted an ice cream cone, which I had to take that picture. That's kind of cute. So while he's eating the ice cream cone, of course, he has to go to the potty. So we go inside. And I was not smart enough. I have never claimed to be smart ever, right? So I wasn't smart enough to hold the cone for him as we're walking through the store, and what happened? Boom. And it splattered, because it was kind of melty, as you could see. And so the lady working at the store was behind the counter helping somebody, and I went up to her and I said, "Do you have a rag that I made a mess?" And she said, "Don't worry about it." And she asked the lady that she was helping to hold on for 1 second. She came out, she brought this little cone, I guess this has happened before, and put it where the mess was. And she said, "You take care of him, I got this." So I went into the restroom, I said, "Thank you." So I went into the restroom and came out and told him, of course, I'd buy him another ice cream cone. So I got in line and the lady has the cone ready. And she goes around to, because there was somebody in front and hands me the cone. I went, "Wow. That's pretty impressive." She said, "I knew he was upset." Customer loyalty. What is it? Or better asked, what is the difference between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty? Anybody? What's the difference? Yes?
Whether they come back.
Whether they come back. What else? So in that situation, in that candy shop, I probably would have remembered that it was a cute candy shop, right? But that lady was amazing. I mean, she really, and then, oh, I forgot. And then she came out, because we were sitting back out there, and she made sure he was okay. I mean, there's a difference, and there's little things, just little things that we could do. Sure, there's some big things, but, I hope that you'll be able to take away some small things that'll make a big difference in your business. So what energy and very clear focus do we put on creating an atmosphere where customers not only stick with us, but also highly recommend us to others? Even when those bright and shiny objects move down the road, right? Even when we screw up, we make a mistake and blow it. How can we keep those customers, even in that situation where they say, "I love that company, I love that person"? So as we fly from 2018 to 2019, I would like to, with your permission, go over my customer loyalty model. Now, you have this in front of you, and you could do it's multi-purpose, so you could do 1 of 3 things. As we go through the actions, you could write them in here, Or you could tear it up in little spitballs and throw it at each other. Or if I really put you to sleep, you could put it in a big ball and throw it at me. So multi-purpose. What I hope you will do, Loretta says, where do you come up with this stuff? What I hope you will do as we go through here is put in the different actions. And why is it a loyalty locomotion model? Because things move and change. And as you create one action, as you do one thing, it'll turn attitudes, right? Actions shift attitudes and change outcomes. So that's why it's a loyalty locomotion model. But let's first start with us, with our heads. How clear is our customer loyalty commitment? How clear is it to us? Because if it's unclear to our employees, right? If we're not very clear and diligent on our expectations on customer loyalty and what that means, then how will our employees be, which also translates to our clients. The lady in the candy shop, I said, do you own this place? She said, no. I said, I hope your boss knows how valuable you are. And she said, you know what, she's a great boss and she would expect nothing less. So her vision, her purpose, her loyalty to her customers was very clear from the CEO down to that frontline employee. And it's not just what you say, it's what you do. So you could say one thing, and then if you act in a different way, it just negates. You know, you could put it in writing and then act in a different way. Customers are important to me, and then you get in a meeting with your employees and talk about those pain in the ass customers who, you know, always want more than they should have. So remember, it's not just what you say, it is certainly how you feel, because loyalty is a feeling. How you feel about loyalty. Do you own the loyalty of every customer you have? Do you own it? Are you an extreme value person, or do you really not care? Because again, that translates. Nothing predicts organic growth like having loyal customers. That's from Gallup, who does worldwide studies. Nothing predicts organic growth. Anybody in here want to grow? Couple people? Sure. So I Googled just a couple more things just to see what would come up. And it's the same thing year over year, right? On average, loyal customers are worth up to 10 times as much as first-time customers. 10 times. And almost 9 out of 10 US consumers would pay more for quality. Yet, what do we focus on? Sales and marketing. Now, believe me, sales and marketing is critical. We have to sell. We have to grow our business. Growth is sales plus retention equals growth, right? Or you could keep losing a lot of business and selling more, but it costs a lot more that way. So I am not at all, I have a partner who teaches people sales, because I know that's such a critical part of our business. And believe me, it's hard to find a good person to teach that. It took me 2 years before I would agree to somebody. But all I'm suggesting is don't make that your whole plan. In your meetings, don't just talk about sales. Talk about customer loyalty and what you're doing to increase the loyalty. So how clear is your customer loyalty commitment? So I'm going to give you an example. This is mine, and I keep tweaking it. And this is just one part. So to serve my customers with extra care and ongoing effort, action, right? And to earn loyalty at every touch. And that means if I'm working with the CEO or the frontline employee, I want to earn that loyalty. I want to help them so that they feel loyal to me, because I'm loyal to them. And again, it's a feeling, right? You're either in this or you're not. And if you're not, then maybe have somebody else that's driving your ship. So I have 6 action steps. Let's get into them. The first one, off with their heads. Off with their heads. Identify your rules. Does anybody know what a rule is? A bull rule. I like that. That's a rule, bullshit rule. Now, I'm not smart enough to come up with this stuff, but I do study smart people. And this man is Vishen Lakhiani, and he is the founder of Mindvalley. It's a Malaysian, his business is in Kuala Lumpur. I'm going. No, I am going. She's a travel agent, and I'm going to go visit that place, but I want him to be there. That's the point. He is brilliant. He took a $700 investment. Wait, say what? Say what? What? It's called stalking. Oh, yeah, I do stalk him. No, I stalk many companies. Yeah, I stalk them. So he started with a $700 investment, and as of last year, it was pushing $100 million in valuation. No venture capitalists, no grants, no loans. And it was all through his determination to grow a business through workplace culture. He's amazing. So he came up with the word "brule," which I kind of liked. So I stole it. So I'll give you an example. I went to a restaurant. This is a true story. And I used a restaurant because I think everybody's gone to restaurants, right? And it was a nice restaurant. I took friends out and a couple, my husband and I took this couple out. And he happened to be my old boss who I just admire. I learned so much from him. Anyway, we went out to dinner to this nice place, and my old boss's wife said, "Hey, I think they have happy hour there from 5 to 7. And I said, "Cool, we're all old people. We go to bed early. Let's eat early." So we went at 6 or whatever, and we were ordering drinks, and I said, "Oh, this is happy hour, right?" And there were 2 servers there. And the one server looked at me and said, and the other one looked, and she said, "Well, you have to be at the bar to get the happy hour drinks." I said, "So, if I'm sitting at this table and I order them from you, it's full price. But if I get up and walk over to the bar that's right there, it's half off?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Really?" And they just looked at each other. Now, to me, that's a bullshit rule, because I'm probably going to, I don't know, there's a lot of good drinkers, maybe not. But the point is, to me, that was just crazy. I was not an excited customer. Now, we went on, we ordered our drinks there, I didn't get up, and it was a pleasant dinner. But, you know, you might say, I don't know what industry norms are, because I don't go to bars much, because I'm a cheap drunk is really what the problem is. I have one drink and I'm like, pretty bad. I can't help it. But whatever the industry norms are, throw them away, because it's your chance to be different than the industry norm. You know, I talk to a lot of companies about some problems, because we do customer surveys and employee surveys, but when I hear things from customers and they tell me, "Look, this is an industry problem. Everybody in this industry has that problem," I go, bingo. Opportunity, right? So color outside your own lines. Now my question is, did the staff even share this story with the owner? What do you think? No. I don't know, because the owner didn't call me, and I had a reservation, so he could have. And they probably didn't, because what was the message? What was the owner's message? What did the staff believe his message to be? Would he want to change the outcome, or would he rather just stick his head in the sand and say, "You know what, that's what we do. If she doesn't like it, forget it. I don't want to deal with it." Which takes us to gear 2. Information is power. You think you know what your customers want. You think you're doing a great job, but without that information, and if you have a staff, your staff knows so much more than you think they do. More than we think we do. And I've learned this through various opportunities with employees after their surveys, by getting their ideas. They're much smarter than me. You know why? They deal with the stuff. As a vice president in my last company, I didn't deal with the stuff they were dealing with. So speaking to them and getting feedback and knowing what our customers are unhappy about is important. So in that case, if that information didn't get past, I know what you're thinking when you see that, right? Yeah. If that information didn't get past the employees, it blocked it. And the service level, from my standpoint, dropped down. Which takes us to gear 3. Problems are opportunities to shine. Hey, Shine, that's the name of a company I heard about. Yeah. So who has ever had a problem that they turned into an opportunity?
Oh, you want me to share it?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, one of my new coffee superheroes put the wrong number on a ticket. So we give our guests a number, and it corresponds with the ticket, so we know where to bring the items they ordered. And she put number 4, and they had 11. So when the food was ready, I was running it, and she had gone out to take out the trash, so I couldn't ask her any questions because she wasn't there. And I'm walking around with this quiche, and obviously, as a guest, if I'm hungry and I just see someone walking around with my food, I'm getting frustrated, like, hello, get your life together. So I finally find them. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I got the wrong number, I apologize. And they're like, yeah, it's our first time here. We drove all the way from Davie. And I was like, oh my gosh, these people hate me. And then it got worse, and they're like, okay, we're just missing 3 empanadas. So I'm still looking for her. She's not back from the trash. And I asked her what happened. And of course, it's, I don't know what happened. So I went back over. I said, I'd like to apologize. I know you guys drove a really long way, and you're probably really hungry. And I like joked with them a little bit, and I was like, I apologize. I don't want to make any excuses. Can I buy your next drink next time you travel all the way from another country? So I made a joke with them, and they ended up, we chatted for a while. They were very nice, and they said they would be back, and then they actually wrote us a really nice review, and so that could have went like very wrong.
It could have gone very wrong.
Yeah, I was scared.
Right. Yes, Beth.
This is killing me because I just went through this yesterday. I have a service contract with one of those warranty companies where they fix stuff in your house. I've been with them for 18 years. I have referred probably 7 or 8 customers at least to this place. I had a discrepancy, $200 discrepancy yesterday. They probably get about $1,000 from me a year. I had a $200 discrepancy that I wanted them to do something for me. The line person couldn't do it. I got that. I asked for a supervisor. And the supervisor was not listening. And she said, would you like me to terminate your service? I said, are you kidding me? And to tell you the truth, if it weren't for the fact that I didn't feel like doing the legwork to find another company, and because they've been good to me and had mostly good people. So in this case, this company was really lucky that I was very loyal. I called back and got the manager of the department, and he threw me a couple of services for free. It didn't cost him anything, but to me they were valuable.
Right.
And I agreed to re-sign the contract.
Right. No, and you know what?
She was ready to terminate my.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if her manager had heard that?
You know what? And it's great that you called them because, and that's why surveys are great. Phone calls don't often happen, right? People won't take their time. They'll just cancel the contract and move on. So,
Companies don't, pardon me, but my problem with surveys now is companies don't want true feedback anymore.
well,
If you don't give all 10s, the person gets in trouble. So they beg you to, instead of saying, well, you got lots of 10s, but in this one area the company could approve. They don't want that because it'll get the salesperson in trouble.
you know what? And that's a great point. And I will tell you this. There are a couple other things you got today, okay? One is a nice smelly bar soap, which is a fresh start for the new year. One is a magical pen where if you have problems with somebody, you could beam them away. And another one is a 2-part form, one for me and one for you. And it talks, there's a couple things on here. One is write down some of your most valuable takeaways. And then it's rating me 1 to 10. And I ask on here, is there anything at all that I could have done to improve my presentation or service to you today? And then parentheses, I put direct and honest feedback will help me improve. So when you put surveys out, it has to be from a place of wanting that feedback, of sincerity. And if your employees, I know I had the same experience with a company that's a chamber member, so I won't say it, but I told their manager, that's what he said. He said, I need 10s. I need a 10 on this. So I didn't do the survey. Now his service he was great. But you know what? Don't beg me for a 10. Help me improve. If I earned a 10, I want it, believe me. But if I didn't, how can I improve without it? So when I'm working with a company, I make sure that their processes have a place for communication around loyalty or sincerity. So thanks for that feedback. Yes.
Something that I recognize, and that doesn't apply to me since I love to give feedback, with, say, employees employees, coworkers, when there's issues, because you'll hear others talking about it, there's always just maybe one person who will speak up or go to a manager to discuss it.
Right.
And when it's that one person like myself who will speak up, then you are looking like you are the problem. Because the others will not actually go forward. And when there's multiple people coming together, then the person may seem credible. But when it's only one person in the group out of 10, is gonna be the one to speak up about the issue, then what?
All right, I'll tell you what. So in my last job, I fought with the president of the company all the time. Now, when I was in front of my employees, I supported everything he did. But if you're a great leader, you're one who will, and we're going to talk about this later, but I have on the back of my card, I gave you each a card, and on the back of it, it talks about win times 3. And so when we work with companies, we want to work with every level of the organization to think of wins. So if I'm making a decision, should I talk to my boss or not, right? How does it affect the company? How does it affect the customers? And how does it affect the employees? Not a employee, the employees. And if it negatively affects any one of those, then you should reconsider it. Not that you shouldn't do it, because you have to do what you have to do, but at least reconsider it. So when I left my last job, and we did, but he supported the big, like when I went in there, first thing I wanted were customer surveys and employee surveys, because I didn't have a starting point. How do I know where I'm going if I don't know where I am? But when I left, when I resigned, he called me and he said, you know, we had a lot of fights, but the company's better off. He said, I think we're both better off, because he had some great things that he taught me as well. So if you're looking at it from a place of not just what's about me or about the employees, but looking at it from how can it help, how would this position help the company and the customers, then you're not looked at as much of a complainer as somebody who's trying to move things forward, if that helps. And some people don't want it, they don't care. So this isn't for everybody. Did that help? So problems are opportunities to shine. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Albert Einstein. So when life deals you lemons, well, I was thinking tequila shots. But okay, let's go with yours. Let's go with lemonade. John says, she always comes. Let's go with lemonade. But if you're going to do lemonade. Like, did you ever have a drink or a meal or something, never happens when I cook, but where you go, wow, that was so amazing. You've got to try this drink. If you go to XYZ, you've got to try this drink at Lady in the Mug. Or there are some people that make a weak attempt to fixing things. Go in it with vigor, go in it with passion. If you're going to fix something, get a win out of it, because you have very little opportunity to shine more than when something goes wrong, whether it's your fault or theirs. So remember part A with my strategy. Part B is, and should I let the customer down, to take swift and purposeful action to regain, or better, improve that loyalty to a significantly higher degree. So stop thinking customer service and replace it and embrace it with a great customer experience. A customer experience with a superior ending. So if you have an upset customer and you could think through, and you have your employees focused on this, thinking through, how can I turn this into an amazing wow? If everybody's focused on that same thing, then you're probably going to get there, right? So rewrite this story. Remember my story at the restaurant? So I go in, she says you have to have drinks at the bar to get 50% off. What could they have done to rewrite that story? Ideas?
Well, right away, they should, I mean, if it were me, whether the manager agreed or not, if I was that server, right away, you were there already. I'd have given you the drink at half price. That was to me an easy fix.
Easy.
And then afterwards, that is something that they could have brought up in their meeting to their manager and said, you know, this has happened, and have it changed, and then the manager should have called you and made a difference. Because at that time, your perception would have changed
Right,
of that,
completely,
total.
right. Anything else? Any other?
Write the story, as the manager, as the proprietor of the business, happy hour is happy hour. As long as you go to that venue, you're there at the restaurant, it's happy hour for everybody, doesn't matter where you sit.
Right. Now, they might say, yes,
I think it's a problem of empowerment.
it is.
Right. You know, so those servers were probably worried about losing their job or something like that.
Right.
And they weren't empowered to make those decisions.
And you know, it's funny because I also stock the Ritz-Carlton. I stock companies, I do. And they give their, at least they did when I was stocking them, they give their employees like up to a certain amount of money, like $1,000 or $2,000 to make sure that customer is happy when they leave. So that is a good point. So you want strategy, right? And Courtney, hi. You want strategy, but you also want some controls around it. If you think your employees are going to spend all your money, bye, thanks for coming. So if the server would have said, look, I might have to give you 2 checks, but I'll take care of this for you, I would have given her a great tip, and I would have been a fan of hers, which meant I would have come back and asked for her, right? So there are a lot of ways to rewrite the story, even if the owner doesn't want to change it. If he says, I need more, I don't know, it didn't make sense to me, but there might be some reason. But there are many ways to rewrite the story. So when I first went in and she said no, I felt very disappointed, right? I felt lured in, is what I felt. It's like, well, they put this out there and then they don't have it. I mean, and so the meal was good. So the customer service, as far as the quality of the food, was good. A little high cost, but it was good. But we talked about it at the table, how many different ways that could have been handled. And then I talked about it to other people. So shared disloyalty. Loyalty starts from the inside out. It always starts, it's a feeling, right? So when you're making decisions, consider how your customers feel. When I do this, if I tell somebody to table, they're not going to get their drinks for 50% off, how will they feel? So name a company that charges more, earns top ratings when there are problems, and rocks their industry. Apple. I am such a, I don't know who you had or what, but I will tell you that I don't own an Apple, I own an orchard. Seriously, we have iPhones, laptops, computer desktops, we have all of it. And I will tell you, so they have the same kind of like monitor, right? And the same kind of screen. But the difference, other than with Tamara, is that their customer support is off the charts. So I had a problem with I bought a new computer, and I had a problem with it. And there was actually the first time in years that I ever had a problem with it. Usually it's, it's user error. But I actually had a problem with it. So they took it back and they replaced the, what's that called, Perry? The insides of the computer? CPU, the hard disk. Hard drive, right. So they had to, so when I got it back, I had to put in all my stuff again, right? And so I had it mostly in, and I had some problems, and I called them. And this had nothing to do with them. This had, like, I had to call GoDaddy. They 3-wayed with me. They did they spent like 2 hours with me. And most of that stuff had nothing to do with their computer. It had to do with me. After that experience, after I had a problem with their computer, I had to wait to get it back. I had a problem getting my stuff back into it. Guess what I did? I went on the internet and said, I love Apple, because they were amazing with customer service. Sometimes you can't do things that cost money, but you know what? If you're not upping your service levels. So, a few tips to turn problems into a wow. Anybody have any? Tips? Tricks?
What I've learned is when a guest is upset, they don't want to hear me talking. They want to feel heard. So what I've learned and had to adjust in myself is mirroring back what is wrong so they feel like I heard them. So I want I'm so sorry that your coffee wasn't hot, or whatever the issue was. Just hearing them out and making sure they feel like I heard them.
Right. Great point. Yes.
I think just like with Amy's, empathizing with the customer and making sure that they know that you get them.
Right.
Because like we said before, it's how do you want the customer to feel? One of the things we teach our staff is to put yourself in the customer's shoes from their perspective.
Right. And you don't really know. They could have just had a traumatic, you know,
Morning,
right.
it could just be one thing.
Beth?
And then they feel that you get them and that you understand, work for the best solution for both.
For both. Right. Beth?
Make the customer feel like an individual and special, like not, we treat everybody this way, but you are the one person I'm dealing with right now.
Great point.
I want to agree with everything they said and just want to add something to that. Blue Stream from, her business internet, I had like this major issue with them this last weekend. My internet got disconnected, which I did not know, and it was really my fault, but I didn't know at that moment, right? And I call, I'm like really so irate in myself, like this is ridiculous, this is a business, I could have went with Comcast, all this stuff going through my mind, and they're closed on the weekend. So calling, I'm ready for them on Monday now. I'm like, this is it, because I just got with them.
I'd be afraid to be on the other end of that call.
Sure enough, this lady, which I've spoke to once, got on the phone. Her tone, her voice was so soft, so sweet. She was listening, doing everything that I hear everybody saying. I recall just sitting there listening to everything this lady was telling me.
She calmed you down, did
I
she?
was so calm that I was like, okay, no problem. There's no way I'm gonna be upset with a woman with a voice so soft and reassuring.
Great. Somebody else had a comment back there.
I would say one of the things is the follow-up. So a lot of times what happens is someone is interested in you in that moment, but then you kind of think afterwards, like, do they ever think about it again? Or let's say the Blue Stream, is it actually fixed? Those are some of the things that people don't get to. And if they do
Make sure the root cause is fixed.
Yeah, so even if it is fixed in that moment, even if you have a manager
Right.
who calls back and just says, hey, I know you had an experience earlier, just want to make sure that everything is fine, even though you know that's the case.
Right.
Someone a little bit more loyal.
Yes.
I just like my clients to know that if something does go wrong, and believe me, sometimes something goes wrong on a vacation, if something goes wrong and they let me know while they're still traveling,
You can
let me
help.
know.
Right.
I'm going to do everything I can to make it right while you're still traveling. And I was on the phone Christmas Eve and Christmas Day because I have.
I'm hiring you.
I had
So-
people traveling and people were looking at me. I'm like, I'm working. At Amy's. I was at Amy's Christmas gala, whatever we wanted to call it. And I had to walk all the way away because the music was playing, the siren from the fire truck was going. but
And
I
you
had a
took care of
client-
it. You took care of it,
I had a client
right?
calling me.
Excellent. So moving on, 5 problem, and I think you've covered them all. Let's see. Run toward your problem. Get in front of it. Do not be afraid of an upset customer, because the worst thing we can do is let them stew, right? The fact that it was a weekend and you had all weekend like you were ready for bear, and you were nicer than some would be, even with a nice voice. Kill their thunder. What do you think I mean by that?
When they're
Quickly.
When somebody's irate, just kind of calm them down.
You know what? I'm going to just say this. If I'm irate and somebody says calm down, I will kill you. Yeah, get them. So here's my point, and here's what's worked for me over the years. That's get in front of it, take responsibility, and it works at home too. Let me give you a story with my husband. So my bathroom counter's like a mess. It's a mess. And he lovingly says, you're a mess, right? He actually went into the other bathroom so that he didn't have to deal with my mess. So one day he was going in there, this just happened 2 days ago, he was going into my bathroom and I thought, oh God, here he goes. And he came out and he went, lovingly, "You're a mess." I said, "You know what? I'm a mess. I'm going to go in there right now and I'm going to clean that up because I can't stand it anymore." What could he say? Of course, he knows my trick. So he just, he walks away and shakes his head. But kill their thunder. Get in front of it. Let them know you're on top of it. Root cause. Root cause. So I had a situation in the my job as a vice president was in the security guard industry. So I called a client just to check on them because people don't call and tell you when there's a problem. They just don't. They'll get upset and change contracts. So I called this client and he said, "Look, can you take care of this employee?" I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "She's just not friendly." I said, "Really?" So I called the branch manager. He went out and talked to the employee. He called me back and he said, "You know what, this is a friendly employee. I just don't know what the story is, but she said maybe she was having a bad day." So I called the client back and told him, "It should be resolved. I just want you to know we had the conversation." So I followed up again to make sure, I wanted that client to know that I wanted to make sure it was resolved, right? So I called back and he said, "I thought they were going to talk to her." I said, "Wait a minute, tell me more." Now I should have said that at the first phone call, right? He said, "Well, we have this script that all the employees are supposed to say when they answer the phone. And she's still not doing it." Well, we were fixing the wrong problem. So get the root cause. I didn't check. My branch manager didn't check. We assumed it was, her attitude was bad or she had a bad day. So get the root cause and then follow up on your follow-up until you close it. So just like you said, the follow-up, the root cause, make sure it's fixed, but don't stop that communication until you know it's done. And turn it into lemonade. So I just want to show you this one time just to see if you see the connection on the gears. So the kill the rules, the bullshit rules, right? So if you fix that, that turns a gear to getting information. The employee then feeds back that information, right, to you, and you can embrace the problem. So that's kind of how the gear model works. So this one you have to guess. It's a test. I'm going to read you a couple lines. If developed, it has the potential to create unparalleled success and prosperity in every dimension of business and life. If removed, will destroy the most successful business, the most influential leadership, the greatest friendship, and the deepest love. What am I? What? Trust. Trust. And that came from Stephen Covey's book, The Speed of Trust, which is a great read. So trust, you cannot say trust. I love when people say, "Trust me, I got this." You either earned it or you didn't, right? It takes time. When you first get a contract, these people don't know if you're trustworthy or not. Now, they have to feel trust because they're giving you money. But then you earn that. You turn that gear. So earn trust. So some trust track tips. Trust track tips. That was kind of hard to say. Trust me. Trust after I can't. Care. Now, do you agree that caring has anything to do with trust? Absolutely. Yes. And there was an employee. He was a server in a very high-scale restaurant. And he did everything right. I mean, he was professional, he was courteous, he was on time. The food was hot. If there was a problem, he took it back. But his ratings sometimes slipped a little bit, and his tips weren't just as great as they should be for how great he was. So we looked at the situation, and it came down to, and he was amazing, right? It came down to little things, like when they brought their family and children in, he didn't really look at the children. He didn't give that feeling of care. It was too professional, if you follow what I mean. People need to know that you care about their service, that you care that they love their food. And if they don't feel you care, they just don't pick it up. Excuses. Nobody cares about excuses. Like I tried to tell my husband, look, I'm getting old. I need more stuff for my face. Over deliver, but not at 100%. Why not?
You don't have room to grow.
You've raised the expectation, right? So I had a client who her boss wanted a report every Monday. She gave her the report every Thursday night because she knew the boss worked on the weekend, and she just did it for courtesy, and she knew she could get it done on Thursdays. She did this every week for a long time. And then one day she couldn't do it, and her boss needed it. So her boss called her up and said, where's that report? She said, oh, I'm sorry, I was busy. And you know what? Was it her fault? You know, yes, because she changed the expectation. So you want to do more. You always want to do more. But remember, when you change that expectation, then you have to build from there. Close the loop. I'll tell you the biggest problem with businesses is the lack of return phone calls timely. That is one of the biggest complaints I see on a lot of things. So return a phone call, even if you have to say, you know, I don't know, I have to follow up. What is that noise? What is it?
Virus protection.
There, she's plugged in.
Oh no, I hit the wrong button. Okay. Hurry. I told you I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Problem solve. It doesn't matter. Apple, it doesn't matter. When I call Apple, I call them about the dumbest things that have nothing to do with them. I don't know how to do something, and they work with me. They problem solve with me. And if you get a lemon, take the opportunity. Remember the second part of my loyalty, right? Should I let the customer down? To swift and purposely take action to improve at a greater degree my service level. So this is the most embarrassing thing I ever did when it comes to trust and loyalty. Trust. I had a client, a property management client, this is when I was in the security company, in Aventura, who was just a witch. I mean, really, she was a witch. So everybody hated her. Her employees hated her, my employees hated her, my managers hated her, everybody hated her except the board of directors because she worked all these hours and they thought that was value. So I had, and I never throw my clients under a bus. It's just not what you do, right? Well, I had a report on something that I had to share with the client. It was my obligation to do it. So I put it in writing, sent it to the client. I called the vice president, who happened to be the one that was really running the board. You know how sometimes, and I said, I'm just giving you a heads up, I'm going to send this to you. So I sent it to him, and it was crushing for this property manager. After I sent it, I found out that my employee lied, and she didn't do it. So the employee was fired immediately because you got to keep your standards up, right? So I called the property manager and the board vice president, and I apologized, and I said, I'd like to have a meeting. I'm going to send a retraction so you have it in writing. And I went to this meeting, and I said, look, I have been taught that when you mess up, bow deep. And I'm just very sorry. Now, I could have said, look, people hate her so much that they lied just to try to get her fired. Nobody cares about that. I screwed up. And when I was leaving, because they were still in there when I left, I said, thank you for your time. I'm so sorry. When I left, the vice president came out, and I was walking, and he said, Irma. I said, yes. Yes, sir. He said, I like you. What did that do for my credibility? Even though I screwed up. You know, we're going to screw up once in a while. Don't tell my husband. I have him convinced I'm perfect. So don't tell him. But we are going to make mistakes once in a while. But man, deal with it. Be honest, fall on the sword, and deal with it. So let's get out of that. Let's get out of that story. What time do you want to break?
We're just going to go straight to 10.
We're going to go to 10? Okay. So I was sold the wrong drill. This is a manager. This is a guy that goes in to a store like Lowe's or Home Depot. I don't know which one it was. He was angry. He's a businessman. He's upset. He was sold the wrong drill. So he's not very loyal, right? Because he was sold the wrong drill. He said, look, I was sold the wrong drill. I need a new one. I've got to fix this thing tonight. What's your best drill? First scenario. The best drill in the market is brand X. It's in aisle 6. Grab it, just come back, and I'll take care of it for you. How's that? Not so good, right? How about this one? Of course, let me take you to aisle 6. The best drill on the market is brand X. Let's grab that, and we'll make a quick exchange. How's that?
Excellent.
Is there a better way?
Yep.
What is it?
I'll get it again.
How about this one? I'm so sorry. Let me help. Tell me more as they're walking to the aisle 6. Let's make sure we get this right. So as they're walking to aisle 6, they find out, he says, I needed a whatever inch hole and this doesn't do it, so I need a good drill set that'll do it. He wasn't,
Are you plugged in?
I don't know.
Harry?
It's not going to die, right? Oh, look, Harry.
It's plugged in, isn't it?
It's plugged in. It's here now, too.
All right, I told you I'm not the smartest person in this room. Thanks, Perry. So glad you're here.
Number 1 rule of IT.
Learn how to plug things in. Yeah, I know. He knows what he's doing. Plug them in. Did you plug it in? So I'm sorry. Of course, let me help. She walks back with him to get the drill and finds out that he doesn't even need a better drill. He needs a drill bit because he was using the wrong size drill bit. So people don't want to buy a 1/4 inch drill. They want a 1/4 inch hole, right? So we have to know what our customer really wants. So what if she then said, look, I have some in my drawer. You don't even have to pay for the drill bits. Let me give you these, no charge. Now how does the customer feel? Could it get better? Anyway?
She could go home and drill it for him.
Actually, that's a good one, yeah. So kick it over the top. How about this? What if the customer service rep provides his cell phone number and says, here's my number. I know you have to get this done tonight. If you have a problem, call me and we'll figure it out. Now, can everybody do that?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is that over delivering? Because let's say I give my card and I'm like, here you go, here's my number, please call me. So they call me once, but then they call me again.
Well, most companies that have a very high value service level have company phones. And so even though it's their personal cell number, it's not. And if somebody keeps calling you, that's a whole different, but here's what happens with rules, right? We have one person who drives us crazy. So then we stop doing something that might be a great practice. So look at the big picture, not the small one. If somebody harasses you, call the police. But there are things. There are things. Find your game changers. So the guy went in there irritated. Possibly they could have resolved his issues. He would have spent a lot more money. Hopefully it would have had the right drill bit in it. If not, he would have been upset. And they moved to loyalty. So number 5. It's what's inside that counts. Develop it. 70% of customer loyalty comes from frontline employees. On my card that I handed out, I think I told you about this already, right? So it's a win times 3 scenario. Some of my clients actually put this on their computer so that when they're thinking, how do I resolve this issue? Look at the customer, the company, and the employee. And look for the people, not just the people, but the processes and the purpose of what you want them to do. So a lot of questions come to me on the right match. So how do I hire the right person? Is it 9:45? No. It's 9:30. Oh. No, I thought it was, you know what, I think we should because I don't want you guys need to get up and walk around. Let's take 5 minutes. Can you do 5 minutes? Yeah? Okay. So one of the most asked questions is, how do I find the right person for my company? And it's hard. It's not easy. What? Tinder? Well, actually, I got an account through Match.com. I met somebody who, anyway, it's a long time ago. I never ended up dating him, though. But, you never know where your next... I am married. This was years ago. I've been in the business for a long time, yeah. Yeah, no. My husband's pretty brilliant. He'd have figured that one out. So, how do we find the right people? So did anybody ever hear of the story of Zig Ziglar, who met with a lot of very successful business companies? And he asked them, he was in a meeting, and he asked them they were doing brainstorming, to give him the attributes of their best employees. So he's writing them down, and they get to 92 or something. He said, let's go for another hour. So he's writing them down. After he wrote them all down, he went back and put an A next to the ones that were attitude and an S for the ones that were skill. Guess how many were attitude versus skill? Oh, there were 114 total. 7 were skill. These are high-performing companies. So, I know and then we look at job descriptions, right? We look at or ads rather, in the paper for jobs, and we talk about skills. Man, we want people who have performance. We want people who care, who have the right attitude, because those people probably won't take a job they can't do unless they know that they have a resource to do it, or they'll go out and get it or whatever. So hire for attitude, train for skill, but also look at your processes. So another common occurrence that I have are CEOs, business leaders who call me and say, I have to get rid of this person. Again, I've just replaced this person, and Amy's going, yeah, okay. I just replaced this person, and now I have to replace the person I replaced her with. So I look at the processes, I look at the job description, I look at what they do, I look at the training and development and how we take this person from whoever they are to where we want them. And in fact, I think, no, there have been a couple. Most cases, there were process problems, so nobody would have been successful, right? And they go, but bless you. And, yeah, she what?
Sneezing on the truth.
Oh, there you go. Wait, I lost my train of thought. Stop that. Processes.
If you look at the job
Yes, oh, I
description,
know. So they go, but they had experience doing this. They had their experience. Nobody has your experience, right? And what's common sense? But don't they have common sense? Where do you get common sense? First of all, common sense isn't all that common, right? But where does it come from? Comes from your experiences. So if they worked for past employers that didn't care about service levels or didn't, it doesn't matter. Take them and make them what you want. And I look at 3 things when I'm working with an employee that's a problem. Number 1 is, can they do it? Can they physically do it? So if I have to pick up a typewriter, where did that come from? If I have to pick up, I don't know, something modern from here, put it over here. Oh my God, Irma. Oh my God. And put it over there. Can I do it? Can I pick it up and put it over there? Oh. The second thing is, have they been trained? Have I considered learning curve? Because it takes time. You throw all this stuff at people, right? And you expect them to remember all of it. No, not going to happen. So is there learning curve? Do they need tools, training, things like that? And then the third one is, will they do it? Because some people just aren't going to do what you want them to do. So look at those 3 things, processes. Now, you also need people in the right roles. Have you ever worked for these people? So they both equally will kill your company. Negative people, the mean ones who always wanted to be a boss, who are negative about everything you do, will tear the morale down, right? That's bad. What happens when morale's bad and a customer walks in? Can't be good, right? And then the timid. Oh, I love this supervisor. He's so nice to me that he lets me get away with everything, right? What does that do for your business? Pulls the service level down. So it's up to you. It's up to the business owner to take action, or the leader, the supervisor. So don't forget, you could talk a good game, but if you let those nasty people or ineffective people run your business, what comes out of it? Take action. So look inside your team. Loyalty, performance indicators, general performance indicators. How do you know how does an employee know where to go if they don't know where they are, right? So how do you measure their performance? How do you keep that in front of them? And how do you encourage, and we could spend hours on that. But customer and employee feedback, information is power. If you can't talk to your employee about what the problems are, get somebody, hire a supervisor, hire somebody who can. Internal development plans. I mean, Chase Roofing's working on a great internal development plan to help every person at every level of their organization get better. And that's the thing, from the frontline employee to the CEO, right? Transparency, you have to be able to talk to people. So this is my favorite millennial. His name's Dursky. And I was talking to him once about a supervisor who just didn't get it. This guy just didn't get it. It was like he was rude to his people, and I just was having a hard time breaking through. And he said, I'll tell you what to tell him in 3 words. I said, I can't, and he told me, and I said, I can't tell him that. So he convinced me, he said, look, here's what you tell him. Give a shit. So I'm going, give a shit, I can't say that. How about the acronym GAS? Man, give a shit, gas. None of it worked for me, right? But you know what? I talked to that supervisor, and he related to that. And so then I started putting it in my presentations, and one of my friends was taking pictures of the present, and I said, don't take a picture of this, and guess what? She took a picture. I don't know what to tell you other than I get her. Yeah, yeah, not on Facebook, right. So, you know, Maya Angelou is one of my favorites. I've learned people forget what you said, people forget what you did, but people never forget how you make them feel. I had a boss who I worked with for many years who was my mentor. And he made me, not only did he hold the bar up because he was the example of examples on treating customers well and treating employees well, but he did it. I watched him, and I learned from what I saw. So, you know, we talk about the win times 3, right? So we do want to take care of our employees, but we've all got to be focused, and it's all got to be laced with a firm adherence to high quality standards. So you hire them, you inspire them, you train and develop them, you ensure accountability. You can't make people accountable, that's up to them, but you can handle things differently, right? You provide the processes and information. You're responsible for leading the culture of your company. Not just what you say, but what they see and hear you do. Loyalty starts from the inside out. When making decisions, consider how you want your customers to feel, and employee decisions repeat. How do you want them to feel about this rule, this policy that you've had forever, that might make sense for every other company, but maybe it's just time to make a change? And do it while raising the bar. I'm not talking about being nice. You want to do things with kindness, right? Right? Whatever we do it with kindness. If you have to terminate somebody, do it with kindness. But you also have to keep that bar raised, and you have to help them get continually better if you want a high-performance company. Gear 6, the last gear. Kindness changes outcomes. So there's 5 short stories that are true, minimal or low cost or no cost, right? Because I know sometimes you look at this stuff and say, what are employee surveys going to cost? What, you know, some of this stuff costs money, but a lot of it really does not. So here's the first story. When I was the vice president, I used to go around and try to meet with employees. You know, we'd go to see a client, so I'd stop at the gate and meet with the employees. And there was a new employee at this one gate, and I always ask about them too. You know, so what do you like to do? And he said, oh, I got this new puppy, so cute. You know, and he just raved about this dog. So a couple months later, when I went back to that account, I said, do you know if that guy was working? He said, you know what, I'm not sure, I think so. So I said, stop at the store. So I picked up a little dog bone. And we went to that account, and he was there. And I said, how is that puppy of yours? And he went on forever. And I said, look what I got you. And that was a $2 dog bone. The branch manager said, every time I see this guy, he raves about you. It was a $2 dog bone. So it's little tiny things that make a difference. There was a girl, as my role as senior vice president, when somebody filed a lawsuit, I would call them and just say who I was and that I'd be looking into it. They actually stopped that later because the attorneys don't like anybody talking to anybody, but it worked out in this case. So this girl was suing us for discrimination, that we didn't promote her because she was a female. So anyway, I called, I said, hi, this is Irma Perone. I just want to let you know XYZ. She said, oh, you're Irma. And I thought, well, I probably met her out in the field, right? And I said, I am. She said, you're the one that sent me that card. Well, I didn't remember sending her a card, but here was a practice I had. I had the managers always let me know if somebody did something really cool, you know, something great for a client or something great to help the company. And I have a system to send out cards, and I set up these campaigns. And this one was a WOW campaign, and it said something like, and it inserted their name, so it was real easy to send, said something like, thank you. You know, it was generic enough that they knew what it meant because they had just done something good. Thank you for your actions. People like you make us who we are. And when I would hear something like that, I'd send it. So I knew it had to be that. So I said, well, you know, we really appreciate people who help us. And she paused. She said, I'm not gonna sue this company. So I looked at the phone. I'm going, yeah, right. Either it's a bogus lawsuit, or she's gonna sue the company. So I looked into the lawsuit. It was true. One of our newer supervisors, learning curve, right, told her that she couldn't be promoted because the client did not want a female. She could have gotten probably a $50,000 settlement on that. The lawsuit went away. I'm just saying, this was a $2 card, a $2 card. Do you travel once in a while? Go to the same, if you go to, okay, so I traveled and I stayed at the same hotels. So this one time I go in, it's 10 o'clock at night. Now I go to bed at 9, right? So I'm exhausted. And I get the key for the hotel, and I go into the room, and it's not made up. So I went back to the front desk, and it was a new guy. I hadn't met him before. And I said, nice room, but can I have one that's clean? He said, oh, no. So he gave me another key. And I went there, and it was locked. You know how the thing on the inside's locked? So I went back to the front desk, and I said, I bet it's a great-looking guy in there, but, you know, I think I'd rather have one by myself. And he just felt terrible. So he left, or he said, please sit. Please just sit. And he went and got a key, and he checked it, and he carried all my luggage. And this was a Fairfield Inn, okay? So they don't carry your luggage. The next morning, the manager knew me because I stayed there a lot, and she apparently said, let me know when Irma comes through. She came out, she apologized. I said, look, it's all good. She sent me a 2-night free stay. So I thought, this is great. So I did 2 things. I wrote into the Marriott and said how this, you know, they just turned this into lemonade. And then I got the guy's name at night because he was new, and I sent a card to the place and said, thank you. You know, you really took good care of me. Every time I went back there, I had a little bag on my bed with candy and cookies and water, and just saying. Another story, one of my clients' wife had cancer. Her name is Jerry, G-E-R-I. So I would call him and just check on him once in a while, just once in a while. Say, hey, this isn't about work. How's Jerry doing? And one day I was taking him to lunch, and I said, how's Jerry doing? He said, you know, she's feeling good today. I said, why don't you invite her? So we had her come out to lunch. When I left the company, now that was the biggest client in the whole company, not just my region. When I left the company, he wrote to my boss or called him, I don't know which one, and said, I think she's the nicest person I've ever met. All I did was make a couple phone calls And it happened to be a good day for her, so I invited her to lunch. It's not expensive, it's simple. So my last, and I have a million of these. I could tell you a million of these. So what do the Prince and Duchess have in common with Florida Power and Light? It's electrifying. Well, when I first put this on here, I put it on because look at the eye contact. It's sincere. So if you're going to do things, really, be sincere. You know, I have a friend who, on her voicemail, and I love her, and she's retired, so it doesn't matter. She says, "Hi, this is Eileen. How are you? Please leave a message." If you're going to say, "How are you?" listen, right? Do things like that. But Florida Power and Light, when Hurricane Andrew came through, I managed the security at Turkey Point Nuclear Power Station. 100 of our employees lost their homes. So they housed our employees and their families. Now, they had to do something because you can't run a nuclear power station and keep licensed without security. It wasn't what they did, it was that eye contact. I watch people talk to those kids with such empathy. So it's really not about what. In many cases, yeah, you have to do the what's, but it's the how. So I just thought I'd say that. So one kind action may be remembered forever. Find opportunities routinely. So what will you focus on? We talked about rules, information, embracing problems, earning trust. It's what's inside that counts. Be kind. Does anybody want to share anything that they might take from here? Back to work? Anybody? Yes. From the retired person.
Yes, but I'm still, I'm involved with, on so many.
I know.
But what this has done for me, it has reinforced the value of being kind. And really setting a tone because through my behavior, through my words, and so forth. And it reinforced something that is just so important for me to keep so that I can move ahead successfully.
Thank you. Yes.
For me, I'm agreeing with her, say it reinforces, but there is something else that stood out that I've never heard, and I've done quite a few of these, and you kind of exemplify what we do in medicine, in medical. It's the same type of thing, caring, empathy, those type of instructions.
Right.
However, when you say going above, like maybe doing too much, it left me thinking now, am I doing that? Because I'm naturally that kind of person. And for the holiday, I did something that made me start thinking, oh my God, I hope to God I'm not doing exactly what you just said.
Look, it's better than not doing enough. The only thing you have to be concerned with, and it's not even a concern, is that if you raise the bar, then you have to raise it. You want to keep doing better. And you know what? Things evolve, right? There are no more typewriters because things evolve. I can't believe I said that. I know. So you do want to continue, but thank you for that. Yes.
Running with a situation with a client who she just doesn't voice what she really wants. She talks over me, so I can't really ask her the questions I need to ask. And then I do something for her, she goes, but that's not what I wanted. And I get totally frustrated. And yesterday I was like about to bang my head through the window. And this just reinforces that take a step back, take a deep breath, listen to the client, and get through it.
And
Embrace the problem and just get through it.
Right. I have a trick for that, and that is send the questions in email format.
Oh, I always do it.
Yeah.
If she doesn't answer the email, she has to call.
Well, some people you just can't control, right? Whoops. So, what is your clear and non-negotiable customer loyalty message? How will you keep it top of mind? What's your next move? And start here, right? Anytime you meet somebody comes into your business, or you meet with a new customer and you shake their hand, really stop for a second. If you could ask them how they're doing, ask how they're doing and listen to what they're doing. Start with the little things. There's a lot of stuff, and I hope you focused in on something that, you know, and you can get help from self-help books. If you decide that you need some help, I hope you will call me. From the CEO to the newest employee, driving immense value at every level of the organization. But every job, I love this quote, every job is a self-portrait of the person who did it. Autograph your work with excellence. Questions? Yes? Oh.
I always look forward to your presentations
Thank you.
because they're always so impactful and informative, and your delivery is always great.
Thank you. Did
Can I
you?
share something as your client?
Oh, uh-oh.
So Irma is my consultant, I'm her client, and when I was first starting out, I was guilty of thinking, it's the 21st century, I can Google things, I can read books, I'll figure it out myself, I don't know why anyone would pay for a consultant, that's just lazy. That was my mindset, I'm like, I wouldn't pay. And then, I mean, I think we do a pretty good job, because I go to other places and I see if we can, what they're doing in comparison, and so I just have a high level of expectations, and I was finding myself hitting wall after wall of like, just random things, like why isn't my staff doing things that I'm asking them to do consistently, or why am I having this problem where I'm getting frustrated, or just little things that we all go through in any job. And I had met Irma, and at first I was like, I don't even understand what she really does, or like, why would
What
I
does Irma do? That's a
Yeah,
common
so-
question, right?
But she became my friend first, and she was like, you know, I can help you and give you a free consultation. I'm like, oh gosh, and then I'm stuck, and I'm gonna have to hire her. But she came to my Coffee Superhero meeting. We have monthly meetings, and she blew me away because number one, I didn't want to hear what she had to say because it wasn't what I like. She challenged me to change my way of thinking, and she saw things that you can't see when you're in your business or in your situation. So first I got frustrated. I'm like, oh, this lady, I don't even see that. But when she was talking to my staff, they agreed with her. So I had to come to reality that I don't know everything. You can't just Google everything. And I think the difference between Irma and why you should at least talk to her is you can Google stuff, you can read as many books from successful people, but it's never tailored specifically to you and your business. So Irma comes in, I can't tell you how many times I've called her this week. She probably hates me. I call Irma all the time, no, literally, for everything. I'm like, how do I say this correctly? What do I do about this? What would you suggest about this? And she will tailor it to you and your business. It's not just some generic, like, positivity. It'll say, okay, in this situation with this person, I know that they blah, blah, blah. Like, she will really get to know you and your business and do everything she can and connect resources or whatever she needs to do to better you. And I cannot say enough about what she's done.
Thank you.
It's invaluable.
Thank you. And I didn't ask her employees if they agreed with me, by the way.
No.
That was through a survey, confidential.
I
So.
didn't want to do it.
Any questions? Anything I can do for anyone? So take your bar. It's a fresh year. It's a fresh start. Happy New Year. Oh, you didn't know what's in the bar? Oh, did we raise the bar today? Yay!